Welcome to the Hey Docs podcast with your host, Jill Allen. Today, I am welcoming back a familiar voice, Levi Barlavi, attorney and founder of Polished Legal. If you're thinking about buying or starting your first practice, this is an episode you won't want to miss. Levi works with dentists and orthodontists across the country to bring a grounded, realistic perspective on the emotional and legal journey of practice ownership. We'll dig into all of that, but most importantly, we'll be giving you real actionable advice to help you start strong and stay smart. This episode was brought to you by ADEC. Hey docs, on this podcast, I talk about a lot of different ways you can set your practice apart. But here's one that might surprise you. Maybe you haven't thought about it before, but the equipment you use can make a big difference, not just for the patient experience, but for you and your team too. That's why I want to let you know about a new line of orthodontic equipment from ADEC. I visited their headquarters in Oregon earlier this year to take a sneak peek for myself, and I have to say, I was impressed. ADEC has manufactured award-winning dental equipment for 60 plus years, and they're bringing that same level of excellence to ortho. From comfortable, compact patient chairs to a versatile workstation and delivery to ergonomic dental stools, ADEC orthodontic equipment is designed for a smooth and easy workflow. Day after day, patient after patient, see the difference it can make for your practice. Click the link in our show notes to learn more about ADEC Orthodontic Solutions. All righty, Levi, so great to have you back on Hey Docs with me. Thanks for being here today.
Always great to talk to you, Jill. It's a pleasure.
Yes, I have been looking forward to this episode. Anytime I can get somebody on that's going to talk about all those really fun things that has to do with law and contracts and all that good stuff, it's always going to be a good podcast. If you would not mind, in the event that somebody has not heard a previous podcast episode that you were on with me, would you mind just talking to us just a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you help docs in our industry?
Absolutely. My name is Levi Barlavi. I'm a dental attorney. I've been doing this now for 15 years, based out of Los Angeles, and we represent dentists and doctors of all sorts of specialties in their practice, startups, acquisitions, sales, partnership agreements, and all the business contracts and professional milestones that they go through. We represent them throughout. I love what I do. I have a wife who's a dentist. It's very personal to me working in this industry. I've seen all the ups and downs and goods and bads from a personal standpoint. And I've done this long enough where I've learned that there's so much beyond just the legal stuff that we do or the coaching that you do. There's such a human story when someone's opening up their own business. And I love being part of that.
Yes, yes. And your passion for that shows through in every client that I have had that has worked with you. They've always felt like they've been in great hands. I know they've been in great hands, but also just that personal touch of really taking the time to understand what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, and representing them well. So thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
So that kind of leads me to the first thing that I do want to talk about today. And it is that big why. I feel like anytime you or I enter into a relationship with a client, many times if I'm working with them, they're telling me, hey, Jill, I want to do a startup, or hey, Jill, I want to purchase a practice, or hey, Jill, I want to whatever it is. And I know for me, I always start with why do you want to do that? What's that motivating factor? And I'm wondering if you can talk about that a little bit from your perspective when you're representing a client and why it's important that they understand their why, but also that you understand it too, so that that counsel goes well.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, again, if you've done this long enough, you start learning how, and the why is really, do you have a vision? Do you have a vision for your life, for your practice? And without one, you can be led astray real fast. You can run into problems. And if you've been doing this long enough, you understand what happens when you don't have a vision, right? And so this is really a exercise in life has so many doors open to you. There's so many opportunities to be a practitioner in terms of how you want to practice, where you want to practice, the type of practice you want, patients you want. You can arrange it however you like, but if you don't have that vision set, you're just going to go down different threads. You're going to spend too much money. You're going to not going to be efficient. You're going to chase other people's dreams of what a practice looks like. I'm writing a book about this. Maybe we could talk about it later. But one of the stories I spell out is two clients of mine who became partners, and one, all he wanted to do was open a high-end practice, do really well, work 3.5 days a week, and surf on the weekends. And he joined forces with someone who had great ambitions of owning multiple practices, because that's what he was told would look like, is be like a mini DSO. And fast forward, they did that, but through tremendous stress. And my client, who wanted that one practice, ended up exiting, and now 15 years later has that one high-end practice and is incredibly happy. And so your vision for practice ownership should be the central part of your journey, and something you should, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be back of the napkin. You just sit somewhere and write what you think it is. It's the North Star, and you'll iterate, you'll change. We know that you'll never hit the mark, but having something that will guide you through at least the early part of your career is a tremendous asset in terms of setting a bar for yourself, closing off other opportunities, which will just be rabbit holes, and having a clear path to where you want to get to.
Yes, I think that's such good advice there. And I really cannot agree with you more, in the sense that if we know where we're going, and I can say, like, the Jill Allen 19 years into my business is very different than the Jill Allen starting my business 19 years ago. And even though I knew the vision of where I wanted to go, I have evolved and pivoted and changed throughout my career. But had I not have had a good understanding of at least what direction I wanted to go when I got into consulting, same thing with doctors and ownership of practices, it would have been a really stressful, it's hard enough already to start a business, but then to not have a plan or direction, I think it makes it even tougher. So thank
Absolutely.
you for saying that. And I think that kind of leads me into my next question. And I think so much of becoming a business owner, there is that emotional side, and of trying to figure out emotionally, am I ready for this? There's the scary part, financially, am I ready for it, and whatnot. But I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit to maybe some of the challenges that either doctors don't think about, or maybe don't put enough thought to when they are thinking about becoming a new business owner and really deciding if they're truly ready to make that decision.
Another great question. I have a slide in one of the talks that I give about how I went to law school to become an attorney and end up becoming a therapist.
Me too.
Because I always said that entrepreneurship, opening up your own practice, any type of business that you open up, it's a tremendous vehicle to understand who you are as a person, where your gifts are and where your liabilities are. And if you're honest with yourself, what you do well and what you don't do well. And it's like putting a mirror in front of your face. And what I found is that a lot of clients who go through the path of becoming an owner a lot of times don't have a good kind of self-awareness in terms of where they are emotionally with the process. On the back end of this, when I'm representing sellers, I've had a couple instances where sellers were on the 95-yard line and ready to close, and they throw a wrench in the deal and they tell me, Levi, I don't want to retire. I don't want to be home. I don't want to do this. Why are you doing this? They haven't answered those questions for themselves, and just like we just talked about, it leads to not being aligned with your intentions. I think that starting a practice can be tremendously overwhelming. When you're a technician, when you go to law school, when you go to dental school, and you're learning a specific way of doing things in a language, sometimes it's harder to wear that hat of a broader entrepreneur, and that's overwhelming, and we're not honest about it. I think that a lot of new owners struggle with this in their careers, and having the right team around you can help you with that overwhelm, right?
Yes.
Because they will be your guide to tell you the path forward. You don't have to worry about all the details, but they'll show you the path forward in a way that you can digest it and understand what's the best choices for yourself along that path. And they will walk with you along that path to make sure that you're going to be successful.
Yes. Yeah. I could not agree with you more on that. And then I think that kind of leads me to my next thought is once somebody has made that decision, and it could be a startup, it could be an acquisition, it could be a partnership, who knows what they're going to be doing along the way. I think that there is also a side of it where you have to just take that realistic look at, okay, this all looks great and I just want to see the roses and the buttercups and be like, it's going to be beautiful, the birds are going to be singing every day I go into work,
Yeah.
type of a thing. But I do think that the flip side of it is we also have to take that really hard look when we are looking at making a decision like this and think about that risk factor that comes in. Not that it should become so paralyzing that we cannot make a decision or move forward through it. And I think having the right group of people around you can really help with that. But I do think that it is good to sit under the weight of evaluating risk as well. And I'm wondering if you can talk to us a little bit about that, especially from the law side of it and what you are seeing when you are helping docs through contracts and working through some of those things that are just really important to be paying attention to, maybe those red flags also.
Another great question. What are you doing as a podcast host?
Thanks.
So I'm in the business of risk. I'm in the business of risk mitigation. You have several types of consultants that you work with. There's consultants like you who are in the business of growing your top line. They're in the business of growth and showing you ways to put in systems where you can grow your practice. And then there are consultants like attorneys who their job is, and I tell my clients this, when you're starting a practice or buying a practice, you're making a huge investment.
Yes.
It's a huge monetary investment because the capital cost for any sort of orthodontic practice is high entry point, and you're making a huge career investment, right? Once you close all those doors, this is the path you're going to go through for at least a few years until you pivot or decide to do something else. That's an investment. My job as an attorney is to mitigate as much risk as possible to protect that investment, right? So there's growth-minded consultants and there's risk mitigation consultants. That's what I do. So what I found is that most dentists, orthodontist specialists, because of the nature of, and this is most professionals, really, attorneys as well, because of the nature of the path we took to get to our careers, we're generally risk adverse, right? We're not the 18-year-old entrepreneur who went out on his own and had 3 failures before we started a business. We went down a very structured path. And all of a sudden, we've decided we want to own a practice. And here we are, and we're freaking out.
Yep.
Because why? We have $500,000 student loans. We're about to take out another $600,000 to open up a practice. And so it can be that's what leads to the overwhelm. Mm-hmm. Here's what I tell my clients. Risk is inevitable. We have to understand what's a reasonable risk and what's not a reasonable risk. Number one, the best stat as an orthodontist you can understand is that when a bank gives you 100% financing to start your practice, their default rate on those loans across all of the loans across the country are what? They're less than 1%. So less than 0.5%. So the banks know the risk. They know you're going to make it because they wouldn't give you 100% financing. So if they know that you're going to be 96.5% whatever successful, you should have a healthy appetite for the risk you're taking. It's not that big of a risk. Does that mean it's going to be easy? Absolutely not. Does that mean you're not going to struggle? Absolutely not. Does that mean it's not going to take a lot of iterations and figuring out things? No. But on the downside, you will be successful. And that's a framework I use. And then when I get into the weeds, for a startup, when we're looking at a lease, that contract is for one person only. It's for the benefit of the landlord.
Yes.
Our investment in this practice, like we said, is a large investment personally and financially. So we have to try to see what are the things that we can address that are going to reduce the risk the most, that are going to allow our practice to grow in this space and hopefully in the future sell our equity to earn all that hard work we put into it. And so it's a matter of working with someone like an attorney who's seen 400 leases or a consultant who's opened 7,100 practices, and then having them tell you, okay, the thing that you just in front of you that we're dealing with, this is commercially reasonable, or this we definitely want to get rid of, right?
Yes.
So if we have a clause in a lease that allows us to assign the lease to someone else, that's going to help us in the sale of our practice. But if in the same clause, it says the landlord has a recapture right where they can terminate the lease once you ask for an assignment, that's going to cut us off at the knees when we're looking to exit. And so we have to get that provision out, but maybe another one we might be able to live with even if we're not successful. So you have to be knowledgeable about what risks are worth taking and where can we manage the other ones to put us on a path to success.
And I appreciate you saying that, because I do think it is many times, I feel like when I'm working with clients, it's some of the areas that are going to save you as a business owner are this exact same areas that sometimes you just want to be like, this really isn't that important, or I don't really want to push back on this because I really want this lease and that whole, but they're really pushing me to hurry up and sign it. I'm sure it's fine. But I'm always like, that's probably your number one first red flag. If they're pushing you to hurry up and sign something without you having time to.
When you're making such a huge investment.
Yes. Like you're looking at a 10-year lease. Really, when you think about it, there are not a lot of leases out there that are 10-year leases, except for in our specific, these big fields.
You're going to invest $1 million in that lease over the course of 10 years.
Yes. I'm also wondering if you can just talk a little bit about.
But but also we've seen the flip side where you're so risk adverse that you're paralyzed.
Yes.
And you can't make a decision. So, you want to not act with complete hubris when you're spending so much money and not be so frozen. Now, that's why I always tell my clients is, when do you know you're ready to own a practice? You never really know, but you should have a healthy level of an excitement and a healthy level of anxiousness. It's like having a kid.
Yes.
You're never ready when that first kid comes. You want it, but you're never going to be ready.
Yes.
And so you'll be excited to have your kid and you'll be anxious. And if you're too high on excitement without being anxious, you're going to make mistakes. And if you're too high on anxiety and you don't have any joy or excitement about this project you're going to do, you're not going to be successful, because that excitement, that joy is going to be your engine. Yes. So you got to have a balance. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's great. That's great. I love that you said that, because that is right on. And now a word from the sponsors who make this podcast possible. Hey, docs. If you want to have a great business, the right practice management software is essential. But some can be slow, outdated, and lacking good support. That's why I recommend Greyfinch to all orthodontists. It's the fastest, most reliable, and most secure platform to grow your business and improve your efficiency. It's completely web-based, so you can run your entire practice anywhere and from any device, with no servers, no downloads, or hidden fees. They even have the most helpful and responsive support team around. Right now, Greyfinch is giving a $500 discount to our listeners. Visit greyfinch.com Jill Allen to learn more and see why it's one of the fastest growing providers in America. Hey docs, let's talk about Smile Suite, because it's not just another scheduling system. It's a game changer in the world of new patient management. And as a proud Smile Suite partner, I've witnessed the incredible impact it has on practices of all sizes. Smile Suite means your new patient calls and web leads are expertly handled 7 days a week, even during nights and weekends. And they offer top-notch customizable presentation software and seamless post-consultation follow-up. It's like having a secret weapon for your practice's success. Curious? Dive into the revolution at GetSmileSuite.com. And don't forget to mention Hey Docs to unlock some extra goodies. Elevate your practice with Smile Suite, because every smile deserves a suite of excellence.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk just a bit about first-time buyers, meaning docs that are maybe stepping in and looking at purchasing a practice. So not everybody's going to do a startup. I think everybody hopes to have an opportunity to do an acquisition. Just a lot of times those opportunities are not there, or sometimes the opportunities that present themselves are actually not good opportunities. I'm wondering if you can speak to that a little bit and maybe just talk about some common mistakes that you see doctors do in early stages, maybe getting too far into negotiations without bringing on counsel. Maybe just talk to some of those where you're like, ooh, these are some like my top 5, be careful about this, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. This is all very fresh for me because I'm writing a book about buying your first practice. You and I have talked about it.
Yes.
And after doing this for a while, and I speak at the CDA every year with a team of professionals about startups or acquisitions. And it's funny, everyone finishes their 20, 30 minutes. And by the end of the 3 hours, the common theme is like, work with people who've done this before. I would say we don't even have to speak anymore. We just give them a slide. This is our advice. Just work with teams that have been there before. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So this is advice number 1 for any buyer. When you're buying a practice, you have to know how to understand the assets that you're buying and evaluate it, right? That requires some financial analysis. You have to be prepared to understand how the systems work and how to implement new systems in the practice. That requires someone who's been in business coaching or consulting. And you have to make sure you're not making a huge mistake in the contracts you sign. Yes. That requires someone is an attorney who had it. But more than that, you don't want it to be your cousin is a PI attorney, or someone who's run their own dry cleaning business, your uncle. You need someone with a little bit of industry experience. Yes. And who's done it before. And otherwise, just don't spend the money, because that's where you're going to get that extra help. So number 1 is having the right team. And then I would say the other biggest advice I have is, and this dovetails with number 1, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. This will be your biggest benefit to success. I have a client. He has a very large pediatric ortho practice. They have 20 locations. He's one of the smartest guys I know. And I asked him once, I said, Dr. Rodef, what has made you so successful? He said, I was never too humble to ask someone smarter than me for help. If I didn't know something, I went and got help and asked for it. And this is something I didn't do in my career because I assumed everyone knows what they're doing. And here I am, lost early in my career in entrepreneurship, and I was too embarrassed to admit it. Everyone in some way is at a stage in their career where they're faking it, right?
I agree.
10 years in, 15, 20 years in, when you do something new, it's always the first time and you're faking it in some ways. But the people who are most successful go to friends, go to mentors, go to consultants who and ask them for help.
Yeah. And I can speak to that a little bit. And what I see when I'm working with my clients is, especially when they're evaluating an acquisition and they know like some of the basic things to ask, but not really having a good understanding of truly what they're looking at and what they're getting into, and really knowing how to ask the questions where, yes, we're going to open up that closet that they don't want us to open up and dig to the back corner and really see what's there. And I think that many times what I see is doctors start a negotiation with the selling doctor, and they don't want to ask the hard questions because they're friends or they're so nice.
Yes,
And I think that
100%.
we have to, and maybe you can speak to this from your side of it, but one of the things I'm always trying to encourage my docs is there is this point where nobody is going to look out for you in your business but you. And you have to ask these questions, because I've seen it so many times where I've had docs say, "Oh, but they were just so nice." And then they get in and they take over and they have 150,000 in credits on the accounts that
Yes.
now the
Yeah.
doctor is like, "I didn't plan to pay 150,000 in credits left," or "I didn't know that the doctor was going to give everybody a 20% pay in full discount for everybody that starts in the quarter leading up to me purchasing."
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I have
so
no patience to work
to,
on because they've
yeah,
accelerated all the treatment before I bought the
yeah,
practice.
like just crazy things like that. So I'm wondering if you can speak to that a little bit, and just being cautious about getting caught in the, "But they're so nice," or putting the right, what's the word I want to use? Just maybe the right infrastructure in place to keep you safe as you're heading down this professional, into this professional agreement. It's not like we want to offend the selling doc by any means,
Nope.
but you have to do your due diligence.
Again, it's a matter of balance. I see this a lot of times with associates who are taking their first job. They're they're afraid to ask, right?
Mhm.
You have to make sure that when you are negotiating a contract, or when you're starting a practice, or when you're doing a business, that you take off your personal hat in some ways and realize this isn't personal. This is a business venture. It's an economic negotiation. And if anyone gets offended by a reasonable ask or reasonable inquisition in terms of the finances of the practice, that's a red flag, right?
Yep.
And so you don't have to be, I always tell my clients, I'm an attorney. You don't have to be a fire breather as an attorney to get what you want. You just have to be smart and ask the right questions. And when you don't get the right answers, your red flag should go off.
Mhm.
Young doctors buying their first practice, especially if they know the seller, and we've dealt with this many times, always are very deferential to the seller, and that's okay, but you don't want to be so deferential that you make a mistake, that
Yes.
you don't uncover things because you just assume this person's a good person. It's not
Mhm.
about being a good person or bad person. It's about trusting but verifying the facts.
Yes, I love that. And I believe you said this on the last podcast. I'm going to repeat it again, but I believe you said something to the effect of a good contract negotiation should be both sides feel a little bit uncomfortable, but we're comfortable meeting in the middle.
Yeah,
Like both sides have to have a little bit of give. And if we are
100%.
not there, I think that's where, if it's all giving on the
Yeah.
buyer's side and not the, again, maybe some red flags should be going up. But
Yeah.
tell me if I'm
It's a
off. Yeah.
negotiation's a collaboration. It's
Mhm.
a collaboration of two people trying to get something different, but it is a collaboration in some ways. And so you want to be respectful because the relationship with the seller doesn't end on the closing. You want to maintain that relationship after the sale. That's good for your practice. It's good for you as a buyer. But you also want to make sure that you're not getting hoodwinked on something because you're afraid of what's going to happen. Some of the best outcomes of deals are when there's no deal, right? Because you've uncovered something that is so potentially detrimental to you in the future or doesn't align with your vision, that, the time and money you spent in the 2 months is far less than you would pay in terms of the
Yeah.
mistake if you're now in a practice that is absolutely terrible situation for you.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that is really good advice. And I think that's hard to hear for maybe somebody out there to hear that sometimes the best thing that can happen is for a deal to fall through. But oh my gosh, you and I have been doing this a long time. I will tell you, doctors who got themselves into a situation, they would have taken that out and lost that deal 100 times over if they could have to not be in the situation that
And,
they're in.
and how many times has it happened, Jill, where a client of yours didn't move forward with a deal and then 6 months later found the dream situation for themselves?
And over again.
But in the moment, it's difficult,
Yes.
and you're wondering, am I going to even have this happen? And then 6 months later, I always tell my clients, just trust me, it's some karma situation. It's happened all the time where they find the perfect situation for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you 100% on that. So, I know one of the things I wanted to talk about is that you have launched or launching a new brand, and it's going to be now called Polished Legal. And of course, you were talking about you're going to be having a book coming out in this next year. I'm wondering if you can just talk about the inspiration for changing your brand and maybe taking a little bit of a different direction in your practice and what that is looking here in the future for us.
Yeah, this will be the first time it's announced, actually. It's
Oh
on your
my.
podcast. Yeah. So it was inspiration. I started my practice 15 years ago. I named it Pacific Health Law Group. It was a hodgepodge of whatever I decided would be good for SEO purposes. And I never loved it, and people don't necessarily remember it. But that was deep back in my head. And then we have a fantastic team, and I am in a different part of my career where I'm looking to really grow and set a high bar for myself in terms of what we want to do in the dental industry. And we have the team to do it. And so I was looking in terms of our marketing, which was mostly almost all referral based, client based, just people who know the kind of work we do who are coming back, and wasn't really front facing, pushing out other than the presentations and the stuff that we're doing. And so I wanted to change that. And I started working with an agency to redo our website. And I pulled on that thread and the whole thing changed.
That's
So weird.
happens.
I was like, I don't really love the name. And they're like, what? I said, yeah, I always thought about changing it. At the same time, I was writing a draft to a book that I'm hopefully going to finish this year called The Polished Dentist. And the idea is, and the inspiration was that we meet our clients at a point in their career where they're like these gems that are still not refined, right? Because they haven't owned a business before. And as a consultant or as an attorney, we're privileged enough to be part of that journey, to see them. And what happens through entrepreneurship, you really get polished. Your skills get better, your communication skills get better. If you're good at this or you do them well, you're getting polished through that journey. So that was the kind of impetus for it, is that we're helping them get polished through this process. And of course, it has that double entendre. And so I pulled on the thread and they're like, we love it. And they encouraged me to go with it. I'm super nervous about the rebrand, but I'm excited as well. Like I said, you got to be excited and anxious.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're not doing it. And yeah, we have a killer website coming out. Hopefully, I don't know when this launches, but it'll be out in July.
Great.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. You know what I love about that? And I think any of the doctors that are listening, whether they're newer in their career or mid career, or even getting towards the end, is this is part of doing business, right? Is that the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur is you can pivot at any point, even to the point of changing your name if you want.
Yeah.
You can start with a vision, and as you grow, I think if you're truly being true to yourself and who you are as an entrepreneur, you've got to follow where that's leading you. And starting out doing law in the Pacific West may have been great, but you've got so much to offer across the United States. It's like, why would you limit yourself to just that when the states are your oyster, right? If
Yeah.
with all of the knowledge that you have and all of that. And so I think my thought is to any doc out there, don't be afraid to take that risk if in the long run it's actually leading you in the direction. Don't stay stuck in that old name or that old brand or maybe even that old way of treating. If your heart is leading you in a different direction, sometimes you just gotta take that risk and go for it.
100%, 100%. This was the impetus. It was, I have a great practice. We're doing fantastic. And it wasn't necessary, but I think you should challenge yourself all the time. And this was, what can I do to broaden my scope and get bigger and challenge myself and take more risks? And 100% agree with you. You always have the chance to change and do things.
Yeah, yeah. As we talk about your vision and the brand change, I'm just curious, in the event that somebody didn't listen to previous podcast or whatnot, talk to us about what this is going to allow you to do for clients opening up at different states and whatnot. Is it just going to allow you to do more services, work with doctors in other states? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure, absolutely. Pacific Health Law Group, a lot of people thought it was very kind of regional specific. So I wanted to get away from that because we're looking to grow. And that's one part of it. I don't think anything will change. We'll be the same great law firm that we've always been. However, when you go through the process of actually branding your business, that requires you to get a little bit more meta in terms of who's our ideal client? How are we messaging to them? What are our values? What's our differentiator? And I love that part of branding. And so it was an exciting way for us as a team to rethink, go to our client's journey. And by the way, the best dentists, orthodontists do this very well, is go through their client's journey and see how they can make it better, and which will lead to their own success. So for us, it was a fun project of thinking about our client, thinking about everything you and I just talked about the last 30 minutes, and really mapping it out in terms of value statements, messaging, process, our playbooks, and setting the bar for us higher in terms of the service we provide to be better than anyone else. And so it was more than anything else, I think that if there's the right follow through, it's going to be a leveling up for us as a team, which only double down for our clients in terms of the service we provide. And then hopefully we'll be able to grow and service more clients across the country.
Yeah, I love that. And every time I have a client that works with you and your team, I always know they're in great hands. I never have to worry. I never worry that we're going to miss something in a contract. So you guys do a great job. So knowing that you're doubling down on yourselves to double down on the clients, that's even better. So as we wrap up here, one of the things that I wanted to just ask is if you had one, I mean, I could probably give me 10, but one piece of advice that you give maybe a doc that's just feeling stuck or that feel or anxiety or excitement about buying or starting their first practice, what would you tell them from your side of the interaction?
Oh man, just one. I have so much. We could talk about this for the next hour. I would say that I'll give two pieces of advice, if I can just fudge it a little bit.
You could give three.
Yeah, I would say that really the number, keep this number in mind if you're looking to become a practice owner. Less than 1% default rate on the bank loan. Keep that number in mind, because if you're really scared about the risks, that should give you a measure of confidence that you can do this. If the banks believe in you, you should believe in yourself. That's number one. The second thing I would say is don't get stuck in your head. It's always great to write things down. Prompt yourself. At some point in my career, early on in my business ownership, I was freaking out, and I took out a piece of paper and I wrote down, what's the worst that's going to happen?
I love that.
What's the worst that's going to happen? The worst that's going to happen in a business failure, which is incredibly unlikely, as we just talked about, is a bruised ego, because you have a license, you can sell whatever you have, and for the most part, get out of the debt, and you can go get a job. And that's the worst case scenario. You're in pretty good shape as compared to the rest of the population.
Yes.
And then the third thing I would say is get yourself a good team. And that's just not a professional team, but you need a good team of family, friends who are going to be your cheerleaders. And know that there will be friends and there will be family who will talk negative about what you're trying to do because they couldn't do it themselves.
Yes.
And so find your little kitchen cabinet of people who are going to be like, you can check in with, talk to along the way, and whether that's a partner or your family or friends. So I would say those are the top
Oh,
three.
those are good. And I really like the last piece, that group of just your little confidants, little cheerleaders. They're still going to hold you to task, but gosh, it is sure easy sometimes to let the people who, as you said, that are just going to speak negative in your ear, let them hold space in that room. And we just don't need those people in the room. You need your cheerleaders in the room when you're taking a risk on yourself. So that's great. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, wants to reach out, maybe they've got questions, they've got a contract coming up that they're going to need some help with, what's going to be the best way for them to do that?
So just look up Polished Legal. Find us on polishedlegal.com, and I'll be excited if they call us through there or schedule an appointment through there, knowing that they came through your podcast.
Yeah, that'll be great. All righty. So you know how I like to finish this up. I like to finish it with a little speed round. Are you ready for the speed round challenge?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What is one daily habit or ritual that helps you stay productive or balanced?
Time blocking.
One of my favorites right there. All right. What is your go-to strategy for getting unstuck when facing a tough problem?
Working out, because I really think if you're stuck, you got to get out of your head. So take a walk, work out, get out of your head, and then talk to a friend or mentor.
Yeah, that's good. All right. And then I'll just finish up with one more. If you could add just one unconventional perk to somebody's workplace, what would that be?
Oh my God. So many. I would love to have internal like career development coach or mentor at every workplace.
Whoa,
I think it
that's
would be
great.
great to develop your career by having that kind of specialization.
Yeah, that's great. Levi, thank you so much for being on Hey Docs
Yeah,
again with me.
this
It's
was
always
fun.
such a pleasure. And I know every time I have you on, people are like, that was great. That was a great episode, Jill. So thank you for being on.
How I feel about you and your team. You guys do fantastic work and you set the bar high. So I appreciate being on and talking to you again.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Until next time. See you later.
Bye.